Hi everyone, welcome to Torah from Brody Shiurim. The shiur this week is on Parsha Tazria, and it's actually the shiur that my first son Benaya was born on. So this shiur was given at his baby naming, at his bris. And the best way that I think to start the shiur is to start with a certain principle, something that my wife and I always try to do, which is we try to look into the Torah portion of the week and see how it relates to our lives. And so it was quite simple with the Torah portion of Tazria, the parsha that he was born on, because the first line reads, if a woman gives birth to a baby boy, she's impure for 7 days, and on the 8th day he should be given a bris. And this shiur was given at the bris of my baby boy. And so the first concept outlined in this pasuk is the idea of impurity. And I think it's very much a concept that is misunderstood. It's not something that's gross or dirty. The Torah is talking about birth. It's something beautiful. It's holy. In fact, the word leida in Hebrew for birth, or to give birth, leida, can be broken down into the words leyad HaShem, meaning next to HaShem. So we can understand from this that obviously a woman who's in such a holy state, on such an incredible high, who's just given birth is next to HaShem, literally. She's impure, but that's a different thing, and that's what we're trying to understand. So I think that the best way to understand the concept of impurity is through separation. And we see this even through death. Death is, it's an av tumah, it's one of the biggest forms of impurity. And that's because this body has been, animated and housing this beautiful holy soul. And when death happens, the soul separates from the body, leaving this space that previously contained holiness. And so all these impure forces and things rush to it, want to go to this holy place to take all the nourishment that was there. So during the birth, the woman who is so connected to her child, this holy soul that HaShem has given her, has to undergo this process of separation and allowing this soul to leave her, to separate and become its own thing, to go on its own journey. And for that reason, it's riddled with pain and difficulty emotionally, as well as physically. And so it's very akin to HaShem, allowing the soul to leave, its holy abode up in the heavens, and to come down to the earth, into this world. So you can really compare the two. A mother to a child is very much like God to a man. And it's from birth onwards. All of our relationships throughout our life have periods of closeness and periods of separation. It's what the Kabbalists call ratza v'shuv. There's running and returning. It's a principle that we have throughout our whole lives. Whether it's between husband and wife, man and woman, or mother and child, or us and HaShem, they're all similar dynamics, and throughout our whole life we're going to experience this closeness and the separation. And the separation will always be difficult. Now, the second concept being outlined in this pasuk is the bris itself. And the bris in Yiddishkeit is very hard to overstate. Never before has HaShem, the master and creator of the whole universe, formed a covenant with any being, any of his creations. This is what the Torah actually calls a covenant of love. And my moel at the bris explained to me that whenever you have any form of contract, any document that needs to be signed by two parties, both parties need to be present. And so that's how we know that HaShem is physically, or not physically, but maybe physically, we just can't see it. But HaShem is there. He's 100% at this bris in order to make the covenant, to, partake in the deal. Both parties have to be present. And so that's something that we can understand, that every time you go to a bris, how holy that moment is. And the Baal Shem Tov has a beautiful teaching in Parshas Lech Lecha, where he teaches about the bris being a positive mitzvah that we can't beautify. We have many mitzvot, things like Shabbos candles or Shabbos, that you can purchase silver, big, beautiful Shabbos candles. Or you can invite guests, or you can buy, the best meat, and you can beautify all these mitzvot. But the bris is not something that you can do that with. It's simply the same thing every time. But why is that? Why is it not something that we can beautify? The bris is more than an act that we just complete. It's an inherent part of who we are. It forms our identity as we move through our life. And it's something that's put into our flesh to represent a core connection that we share with HaShem. It's so eternal that it never needs any additions, it never needs any decorations. And to further this question, we need to ask, why is this the way that we seal this covenant? Why couldn't we have a contract, like a ketubah, or an article of clothing that we wear that shows that, we have a unique connection to Hashem? Why does it have to be a bris, something that's sewn into our flesh? And the reason that this promise is sealed into the flesh the way it is because it's a message to us. It's a message that Hashem is sending us, telling us that God wanted us to complete creation. How do we know? Just like we're born into this world and we have to complete the body, so too the rest of our life, we're going to have to change the world. It's through Torah mitzvot that we're able to change our soul. Through the bris that we change our body to become more pure and holy. And through tikkun olam that we change the world. And so this is all a hint that through completing our body, which is through my own hands, so too is it in the hands of me to complete the form of my soul by refining it through the thought, speech, and actions, through Torah mitzvot. Again, what the bris is to the body is Torah mitzvot to the soul. It's a refining process, a reminder that our natural form needs elevation, and that it's our job to complete this process, however difficult or uncomfortable that might be. So please God, we should be able to raise our son with the bravery to take this step. It's something we're all called on to do throughout our lives. Now, to switch gears and transition into the name that we chose, the name Benaya is sourced in Tanakh. He was one of David HaMelech's officers in his army. He even went to serve under King Solomon after him. And the reason we chose this name is because in today's day and age, we see that our children are actually called out into war. Especially here in Israel, we have the physical IDF, but so even more so on a spiritual level, there's this war with all the lies being perpetuated in modern culture. And for us, it's not about inoculating our child so that he never has to experience those things, never has to experience the pain of lying and whatever, but equipping them to deal with it, equipping them to challenge people and to create a soldier and a leader. Another element of the name Benaya is that it's composed of the letters Beit, Nun, Yud, and Hey. And these rearranged spell Bina, which means understanding. Now, something that I learned not too long ago is one of the first brachas that we make in the morning is about HaShem, who gave the rooster understanding to separate between the morning and the night. Now this idea, if you look at it from a Hasidic perspective, means that you need understanding, you need bina, to separate between light and darkness. And that, I think, is one of the first brachas in this world. Brachas, I think we actually read this from Rebbetzin Chaya Weinberg. But the idea is you need understanding to separate between the light and the darkness. And in this world, we're so confronted with darkness that we really need to make sure we understand correctly, that we have the Torah of truth to guide us, so we know that we're understanding what is a lie and what is truth. Now, when I met my wife Ayala, I used to drive 2 hours to go to her base, which was up in the north. She was in the army back then. And I'd pick her up, and it was my time to, listen to shiurim, call friends, call family, etc. And when I decided that I was going to marry her, I called my rabbi and told him. And my rabbi asked me, how do you know after it's been such a short time, how do you know that she's the one? And I thought for a moment, and then I said, when we speak, we really understand each other. And he said, that's all you need. If you understand each other, then you'll be okay. My union, or reunion with my wife Ayala has always been something that has been characterized by a deep understanding of one another. And I believe that that's one of the gateways to true love, is through understanding. And I believe that dispute or any issues that we have with other people usually arises out of misunderstanding, of not knowing something about the other party or lacking information. And so it's with this that we hope to raise our children in the pursuit of knowledge and with a focus on interpersonal connections and understanding other people. That the love that he feels at home and in his community can emanate to the whole world around him. And I want to conclude with a few thank yous. A thank you to my family and the community. Thank you to my mom and to my mother-in-law, Erla, for making such a big, beautiful bris. I want to thank my dad and my father-in-law, Benji, for all their support and guidance throughout, our whole marriage, but really through these big moments. And I want to thank all of the people that came, all of our community that came to our simcha, as well as the moil for being my shliach, and my wife, Ayala, for not only giving me such a beautiful, precious child, but for being my constant pillar of support, my best friend, and my source of joy in this world. So that is the shiur for this week. I hope you enjoyed it.